How do we authentically tell the story of Jesus and the work that we see every day? How do we tell the story of Jesus in the life of someone who has been living on the street, or a mother that has lost her child, or that young man who has known more years of his life with an addiction than without? How do we tell that story? Sometimes when we think of the story of finding Jesus, we think it's like finding a destination. We were lost, but once we found Jesus, we found the destination where all of life's problems go away. We make all the right decisions. The problems of our past remain outside the destination. Like when that addicted person living on the street hears the story of Jesus, their addictions are suddenly gone and their life instantly changes. Or maybe that mother that has gone through years of abuse suddenly forgets and all her future life choices are perfect, right, and sensible. But thankfully, that's not the story of Jesus we see at the Fresno Mission every day. Likewise, the story of the Fresno Mission is not a story of a bunch of people who come to work who've made all the right decisions in life to serve those who didn't. The story of the mission is not a bunch of people who have everything going well in their lives that are perfect, coming to serve people's lives that are a mess. It's not a story where volunteers whose lives are going grand take a vacation just to do their part and feel like they did something good. No, the story we see is not a destination. The story of Jesus we see played out at the Fresno Mission in the lives of the people who work, volunteer, serve, stay, eat, recover, and come for to help is much more powerful than that.
My name is Lisa Nishimoto, and I am the Director of Events at the Fresno Mission. And I have been working for the mission for just about 5 years. And my journey has been one from feeling like I was never good enough. So I never felt I was a good enough mom or friend or daughter, or even where I worked previously at a church. Just never felt that I had just the knowledge or the greatness that other people around me did. There was a time in my life where it just really came to me to a head. And as I went through a divorce that lots of people knew what was happening, and I was embarrassed. And so when things just blew up and it became very public, the charade was up, right? And I have to go to church the very next day after things were on the news. And everybody knows what's been going on in your life. I just needed to have the strength and courage to be able to do that, to know that I could keep taking one step at a time and I could take one day at a time. Now I had to be in a real space, and that's a scary place to be. And so you just, in your head, go down rabbit holes to think, my life was this, and now I have no idea what it's gonna look like. And that can put you in a very dark place. And often I would think about my kids and how I failed them, and maybe I should have listened and done something a long time ago instead of putting them through this embarrassing time that they were now going through. But as I came to the mission, I know what it feels like to be in a dark place and feel lost and unseen. And so my drive and my passion for what I do here at the mission is all focused on making sure that people are seen and heard and know that we care and love them. I began to see others differently, understanding that we all are on a journey and not always at the same place, and it's all a process. And where it could be easy to say that person is in their situation because of their choice, they could say that about me, right? I was in my situation because I chose it. But there's so many underlying things going on that is the basis of that choice, where it was trauma for those when they were younger, or abuse. They didn't know any better. And instead of me really thinking of those situations and looking at the person in that light, it was easy to judge. And I think for many of us, it's easy to judge that person that is on the side of the street without a home, instead of digging in to answer the question of why, what happened way back when they were a child that caused this to happen. Choice after choice after choice. We're all one choice away. And I think that's the perspective that has changed for me, is I'm one choice away from being in the same situation.
It continued to take control of my life. I was bound down. I was chained up. I was not able to get away from the meth use. And it was one day after another of just pain, struggle, depression, in and out of jail, doing things that I regret today, that I have nightmares about today, but am so thankful that I'm forgiven. It was just, it was horrible. It was a horrible life that I wanted to get out of since day one, but it lasted 25 years. My name is Anthony Brisky. I grew up in Madera Ranchos, California. My childhood growing up was a perfect childhood. I had the perfect parents, perfect place to grow up. I was 9 years old. My father, real strong, guy's guy, Vietnam veteran. He sat me down and told me he was dying of cancer, and he was going to die in 16 weeks. He cried for the first time, and that really put me into shock. That was the same time my mom's depression started kind of showing its face, and she started trying to commit suicide. So I that perfect childhood that I had really turned around 180 on me. I was 15, it was Christmas Eve. Me and my twin brother, we were up, and my dad fell over and hit his head, and he ended up passing away in me and my brother's arms. And my mom ended up taking his morphine that night as well. So it was pretty weird, I thought that was the day that both my parents were gonna go. And shortly after that, we got introduced to meth. And that's when I started becoming a strong meth user. It really, to me, it numbed everything, so I could get through without being scared anymore. It was 25 years, I think, I was using meth. And I burnt every bridge in my family, but, and including my mom's, they all gave up on me pretty much, or just wasn't gonna be a part of what I was doing at the time. I didn't start having kids until I was 34, and the girl that I ended up, me and her having kids, she took the kids away from me because, of course, I wasn't fit to be a father. And one day I thought was her, and I thought I was going up to her and my son, but it wasn't. It was Christina, and it made me cry. And she was a really nice person. You would think somebody would walk away from that situation, but she introduced herself, and we talked, and she kind of talked me off the edge kind of thing, We were both still drug users at the time, but we were hiding it, so. But that's how we started. And I think it was about 3 days later we were officially together. So we became best friends pretty fast. Our relationship was really good the first year. But of course we were still using drugs, and it got into violence and fighting, and me thinking about killing myself again, I didn't know she was pregnant at that time, and she told me, when she did tell me, it did bring me back to want to being a good father. It started making me think about my future, and I just needed to find a way to get off these drugs so I could be a good father. So we went to the mission. And I just prayed to God. I said, Lord, if I get one more chance, just please, I'm gonna give it 100%. I'm gonna try my hardest, and I will follow you. Just please help me. There's not very many stories of two addicts making it work. And for Christina to follow me to the mission and to get off drugs, and she really proved that she really is my best friend. She's been going 100% with me this whole time, and I asked her to marry me at the mission. So we were gonna get married and we were just gonna go to the courthouse, but Priscilla ended up bringing up that we could probably get married in the back. And they set it all up for us to have a wedding back there. Everybody that knew me at the rescue mission showed up. My bosses showed up. It was a great day. I couldn't believe that I had that kind of support. You know, all the bad choices I made in my life, nobody really wanted to support me or help me anymore, and I didn't blame them, you know. But to have that many people there supporting me and rooting me on for my life to be a better life, tears of joy. So I was very happy. An amazing thing got to happen too was my mom at this time, you know, she was sick, so she was dying. It's still hard because it was recent, but I'm so happy that I was able to show her that I changed my life. I was able to walk her to the Lord's Prayer right before she passed away, and she ended up passing away 5 days later. But I got to be right there. I got to hold her hand for her last breath. So it was hard, but I was really happy that I was there sober, and that you know, I just got to show my mom that I made a change in my life. I put God first every day. I wake up in the morning praying, thanking Him and praying. Again, I just take one day at a time. Try to work as much as I can and spend time with my family, because that's what I want most in this world right now. So just having them, just being there with them, seeing they're happy, seeing that they're proud of us, I hope my children's journey's been changed by having two parents to look up to now. Just seeing that we believe in God, we have faith in Jesus, and that I just pray and hope that they grow up the same way. I think that by them seeing us being able to make this change, they can know that they don't have to go down the same path. I don't want to lie to my children. I tell them a little bit about what happened with mom and dad. So I just want them to know that we love them, and that I think that they have a bright future now that mom and dad are both on the right path, you know. And again, the right path to me is just letting God take control. And I am so thankful for it.
I'm Cecilia de Jesus Ruiz. Everyone calls me Cece. My husband is Steve Miller. We have 4 children together. After we got married, we moved overseas within 4 months, and we ended up having 3 kids overseas. But once we got to Malaysia, that's where we really grew up. Our faith really took off and started to mature, and part of that was through reaching out into the communities. That hands and feet of Jesus, we learned that there. During our time in Malaysia. I first got involved with the Fresno Mission through our church when they presented the need of providing a family with their Christmas list of wants and needs. It was obvious that people had great need. Christmas rolls around again, and they asked us again to get involved with the Christmas project, but this time, the mission decided to switch to a more holistic approach, and they wanted you to journey with the family for a year. We set up a meeting with them. They were living at the family center at the time, so we went down to the family center to meet them, to have lunch with them, and that was love at first sight. And the more that I spent time with them, the more I knew that they were going to be a family that we wanted to stay with for much longer than a year. Over the coming months, we would celebrate birthdays with them. Whenever we have Thanksgiving meals or Christmas dinners, they are with us because we consider them a part of our family. When you think about going down to the mission to serve a homeless family, The misconceptions are that they got themselves here, they made poor choices, they're probably drug addicted, maybe they abuse alcohol. And when I personally met this family, they're here and ended up at the mission literally through a series of unfortunate events. For example, the dad was crushed under a piece of farm machinery, and therefore lost his job, and that's how they ended up homeless. The journey with them has been such an amazing experience of watching the Lord provide. By May of 2021, all of that changed because I was diagnosed with stage 3 triple negative breast cancer. You know, as a family, I think we were living our best life. Didn't anticipate that we would confront a crisis. The cancer that I have has advanced. It's now stage 4 triple negative breast cancer. It's metastasized to my lungs and to my brain. Telling the Gonzalez family that I was given essentially a death sentence with a terminal illness. They were heartbroken at my diagnosis, and yet their faith is, I would say it's stronger than mine because of what they've gone through. They have gone through insurmountable amount of crisis, and they see my victory before I see my victory. That is just a testimony to how the Lord was ordaining this family to come into our lives, to benefit, to be of mutual benefit for each other. Walking away from them was never an option. My purpose is that God's kingdom would come to this earth. How does his kingdom come to this earth? Through each and every one of us. And we do so by loving one another, even in the midst of the trial, and sometimes because of the trial. Because when I meet Jesus, I'm going to regret not doing more with the life that I was given, with the resources that I was given. None of us could do enough. I told my husband, if I die, you guys have one job. Your job is to continue to love and take care of the Gonzalez family, no matter what. It is the legacy that our family has now refined to. It has helped my children to recognize that kind of crazy, extreme, sacrificial love is a picture of Jesus. It's so small. It's so small what we're doing for this family. We did not lay our lives down for them. My family's legacy will be just one other family that will never have to sleep on the streets again.
The most powerful story we can tell is a story about a bunch of people, some who work, some who volunteer, some who have been homeless, some who have not, some who've had to overcome addiction, and some who have relapsed, some who grew up on the wrong side of the tracks, and some who grew up on the right side, some who feel that the train simply ran them over, who all come from different journeys, but because of the love of Christ, continue to see God's intervention in their lives. We see how God intervened when life wasn't perfect or when we weren't perfect. We know that God has loved us and continues to love us in the middle of our crisis, in the middle of our mistakes. It's why we don't need to wait until we are perfect or life is perfect for God to love us back. It's for this reason, knowing God's intervention in our journey, that allows us to look into the face of that person who comes to the front door, who has made all the wrong decisions in life, who may have spoiled every relationship that they've had, who has no possessions other than a truckload of shame, but who we can look at in the face and say without judgment, that no matter what they have done, what they might do in the future, that God deeply loves them. And we know that it's through that expression of love that we see people's journeys begin to change, because that's what happened in our lives. It allows us to say, you need help? I've needed help too sometimes. God loves me and he deeply cares for you. You went through an 18-month rehabilitative program and relapsed? I failed too before. God loves you and I am so glad that you're back. You feel like you made the wrong decision as a parent? Great, welcome to the club. You feel like the rest of the world is crashing down on you and you have no way out? Been there. God is here to love you and to take care of you. It's through that expression of love when we see the transformative power of Christ happen. Does that mean our journeys no longer have challenges? No. Does that mean we will not have dark days? Absolutely not. What that does mean is just like a relationship with Jesus, we get to say, no matter what you have done, no matter the failures, we are glad you knocked on our front door, and we are here to love you just as we are loved by Christ. That's the story of the gospel, and we hope the story of the Fresno Mission.